Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another episode of Snowflake's Conflict, episode 9, where we cover various countries that are in, whether it's in various conflicts such as the Myanmar civil war, Sudan civil war, the crisis in Haiti, the Middle East, the war in Ukraine, and beyond. That's what we mainly discuss here, or topics that are revolving around those ones specifically, guys. The date and time of this live stream is the 28th of November 2024 at 8 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on twitch.tv/Reganelite1. Hello, everyone who's here in the live chat on YouTube. Jao is here. Good to see you, buddy. David Gerardo, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Aztakir, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Reg, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all having a good week so far. And anybody else who may be lurking in the chat or in the Twitch chat, hope you guys are all doing well. It's probably not going to be a long stream, but we'll see. I'm only doing 5 stories for you guys tonight. I am a little bit tired tonight, considering the extended work that I had to do today, because I've got some other stuff that I've got planned, not just here but in other places. So I've had more to do today than I normally do. So I'm a little bit tired, but that's what. But originally I didn't realize I actually hadn't set up the live stream at all. But I still wanted to do one at least tonight for you guys to cover some of these things. I'll see if next week if I can get a guest on. Probably I'll try and get one angry pagan, next week if possible. But we'll see. We'll see how things go, guys. So first and foremost, I want to start off with the crisis in Sudan. This is one of the latest ones here. This one is from the BBC. The headline that Sudan's inevitable crisis, where more children are fleeing war than anywhere else. This is Sudan. This is one of the biggest and most tragic things that are happening on the planet right now. You know, we talk about what's happening in Gaza. We highlight it. We talk about what's happening here. So let's just put the screen clip the chat up. But what's happening here is barbaric, diabolical. We're talking millions of children who are displaced, separated from their families, starved, hungry, and just this little bit there below. More than 5 million children have fled their homes in Sudan. Children. We're not talking about adults. We're talking about children here. And this is what they have recorded as well. It's incredibly tragic. And what's the mainstream media doing? Are they talking about this? Not really, no. Not really talking enough about this. That's all right, Reg. Yeah, not everyone can catch the live streams all the time. It's fine, buddy. Yeah, if you can make it, great. If you can't, you can't. It's all well and good. Steve McMorgan, good morning. Good to see you over there in New Zealand. Hope you're doing well. I hear owls at night. Native owls we call Morpuk or Rule. I hope I said that right. Good morning, my friend. And Jack Foster 37 on Twitch there. Good. Hello there. Hope you're doing well. So let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So Mahmoud is a cheeky teenager who beams the brightest of smiles even though he lost his front teeth in the rough and tumble of kids' play. He is a Sudanese orphan abandoned twice and displaced twice in his country's grievous war. One of nearly 5 million Sudanese children who have lost almost everything as they are pushed from one place to the next in what is now the world's most worst humanitarian crisis. Nowhere else on earth are so many children on the run, with so many people living with such acute hunger. Famine has already been declared in one area, where many others are subsidies on the brink of starvation, not knowing where their next meal will come from. It is an inevitable crisis, emphasised in the UN's new humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher. 25 million Sudanese, more than half the country, need help now, he adds. This is a number I've seen pop up many times, 25 million. Even in recordings that I don't do, 25 million. You know, we talk about the 2 million, 4 million Palestinians that are literally locked in a cell inside the Gaza prison, and we're talking about 25 million Sudanese. But because they're African, because they're on the continent, because it's an African nation, we don't kick and scream about this and do more about this. This is not good enough. In a time that all too many unprecedented crises where devastating wars in places like Gaza and Ukraine dominate the world's aid and attention, Mr. Fletcher chose Sudan for his first field mission to highlight its plight. This crisis is not inevitable to the UN, to our humanitarians on the front line, risking and losing their lives to help the Sudanese people, he told the BBC, as we travelled with him on his weeks-long trip. Most of the people on his team working on the ground are also Sudanese who have lost their homes, their old lives in the brutal struggle for power between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, the RSF. Mr. Fletcher first visit took him to Mahmoud's Mongolia orphanage in Kasiyak in eastern Sudan, now home to nearly 100 children in a crumbling three-story school turned shelter. They live with their carers in the capital Khartoum until the army and RSF turned their guns on each other in April 2023, trapping the orphanage as they dragged their country into a vortex of horrific violence, systematic and looting, shocking abuse. When the fighting spread to the orphans' new shelter in Wad Mali in central Sudan, those who survived fled to Kassia. When I asked a 13-year-old Mahmoud to make a wish, he immediately broke into a big gap tooth grin. I want to be state governor so I can be in charge and rebuild destroyed homes, he replied. I like that. I like that answer. For 11 million Sudanese, driven from one refuge to the next, returning to what is left of their homes and rebuilding their lives would be the biggest gift of all. For now, even finding food to survive is a daily basis. And for aid agencies, including the UN, getting it to them is a titanic task. After Mr. Fletcher's 4 days of high-level meetings in Port Sudan, Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan announced on X social media site that he had given the UN permission to establish more supply hubs and to use 3 more regional airports to deliver assistance. I'm sorry, but this is long overdue. This is long overdue. They are fully aware, both sides are fully aware of the suffering that is happening to the people. This is way overdue. Now, I'm happy he's given permission, but bloody hell, it's been way too late. Some of the permissions have been granted before, but some marks a step forward. The announcement also came as the UN's World Food Programme secured the green light to reach stricken communities behind lines controlled by the RSF, including the Zamzam camp in Darfur, housing about 500,000 people, where famine was recently confirmed. We've been pushing for months to get to these communities, says Alex Masharisi, who heads the WFP's operations in Port Sudan. Behind us in the WFP warehouse, Sudanese labourers sing as they load trucks with boxes of food heading for the worst of the worst areas. Mr. Ralari reflects on how he has never worked in such a difficult and dangerous environment. Within the aid community, some criticise the UN, saying that its hands have been tied by recognising General Bhutan as the de facto ruler of Sudan. General Bhutan and his authorities control these checkpoints and the system of permit and access, Mr. Fletcher says in response. If we want to go into those areas, we need to deal with them. He hoped the rival RSF will also put the people first. What, after some of the alleged crimes that they have done? You've got to be kidding. I'll go anywhere, talk to anyone and to get this aid through and to save lives, Mr. Fletcher adds. In Sudan's merciless north, all warring parties have been accused of using starvation as weapons of war. So too, sexual violence with the UN described as an epidemic in Sudan. The UN first coincided with the 16 days of activism, marked globally as a campaign to stop gender-based violence. In Port Sudan, the event of a displaced camp, the first to be set up when war flared, was especially poignant. We have to do better, we must do better, vowed Mr. Fletcher, who cast aside his prepared speech when he stood up under a canopy facing a row of Sudanese women and children clapping and ululating. What? I can't say that word. I'm sorry if my words are all over the place, guys. I asked some of the women listening what they made of his visit. We really need help, but the major job should be from the Sudanese themselves, reflects Ramisia, who works for the local aid group and recounts her own harrowing journey from Khartoum at the start of the war. This is the time for Sudanese people to stand together. The Sudanese have been trying to do a lot with a little. In a simple 2-room shelter, a safe house called Shamra or Candle, bring some of the light to the lives of abused single women and orphaned children. Its founder, Noor Hassan al-Sawali, also known as Mama Noor, also started life in the Mongolia orphanage. She also had to flee Khartoum to protect those in her care. One woman now sheltered with her was raped before the war, then abducted and raped again. Even the formidable Mama Noor is now at breaking point. We are so exhausted we need help, she declares. We want to smell the fresh air. We want to feel that there are people in the world who care about us, the people of Sudan. It's very hard for people to feel that when, like, don't get me wrong, like the international bodies and nations are aware of what's happening. The world is aware of what's happening. They just don't shine a spotlight on it because of where it is. That's the problem. In all seriousness, if major international countries, like just literally they could force this war to end if they really wanted to. But I've talked about this before. The reason they don't want to is because they can sell the weapons. You know, there's capitalists to make money out of this war, regardless of the human suffering. You know, the selling of weapons and ammunition and whatnot. That's money making to private weapon arms, and some of them who have links to governments and whatnot. It would be, I've said this before, but it would be in America's best interest that there was at least wars taking place across the world, so they have weapons and arms to send to, in their minds. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. The last talks, I believe it was the RSF, didn't even bother turning up to the last talks. I know that there's mediators from the UN, America, I believe the UAE, and I don't know about Egypt, but most of them. But the last tried to set up some kind of meeting or so whatsoever between the two, and it's just like they're just not interested, and both sides seem to prefer this anyway. And yet the innocents suffer as a result. I think it's like there's already been more than a million Sudanese have fled into Chad. I think it's Chad that's getting overwhelmed with the amount of Sudanese, which is that they're in really struggling to take them in. South Sudan, obviously, taking them in is not ideal for them as well. And then there's also the major influx in Egypt. And Egypt is already has already pushed in quite a lot from those who have fled Gaza, Palestinians there. And it's even worse for Egypt because obviously because of where they are geography-wise on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. So what tends to happen is some of them try to obviously flee. Yeah, that is a good point. I'm just going to... Good point from Jao there. Sudan was not properly decolonized like most of Africa. They amassed people in countries and made a desk and were done with it. It's clear that war is humanity's default state. There's never been a period without war in human history. That is true. But I do think a lot of it there is political influence in all wars of some way, shape, or form. I agree that some historians that say peace is just about a time between wars. Got myself educated on Sudan. There are news here, but very scarce in my opinion, says Jao. Stephen Banker says, I'm totally exaggerated and deflated with humanity. We're heading in the wrong direction. Yeah, considering the last week's conflict where we covered how many conflicts there were, it was insane. The amount of conflicts is ridiculous. But it's obviously not the same as what happened in World War One and World War Two. But it certainly feels like we're edging closer and closer to that. It does feel like that. That's why civil wars are constant in Africa. Few countries culturally unified. Yeah, there was a brilliant piece by Real Life Law explaining why the Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the worst. It's like one of the worst destabilized countries in the world, and it's not just based on past conflicts. There's lots of other factors too. I thought that was one of the most fascinating videos when it comes to talking about countries in Africa. But as I said, I will always keep an eye on it, guys. We'll always try and cover something from Sudan because I do think it's important for us to know what's happening there. The next one I've got for you guys is an interesting one from Al Jazeera. So we've been talking a lot about the ICC obviously chasing up certain individuals. This is one that people may not know about. So the ICC prosecutors are seeking an arrest warrant for Myanmar's military government chief. The ICC prosecutor promises that more applications will be forthcoming as the Roderica seek justice and accountability. Excuse me. And rightfully so. There's the chief and the military themselves, the military Judah, the abominations that they have caused since they overthrew and took control of the country. And the people have been in suffering for quite a while now, and the rise, obviously, of rebellions and tribal groups working together to overthrow this military Judah. I won't call it dictatorship if you want to call it that, but the cruelty that they've imposed on people who don't join the military as well. It's been nothing short of disgusting, and while I'm glad that the ICC have seeken the arrest warrant for the government chief, will this make a single bit of difference, guys? The short answer is no. It's not going to make a single difference. No one is going to go into Myanmar to apprehend him, and he is not going to flee the country unless the military Judah fall. At the moment, they are actually on the back foot. They've been on the back foot for quite a while because rebels are taking territory, seizing lands from the Judah in Myanmar, which is a good thing. Obviously, it's not good that there's gunfire and bloodshed and people dying, of course. But when the last time we had a deep story about Myanmar, we talked about how because there are lots of different religious groups there, but we also talked about how some of them came together and been brought together by this coup by the military, and it has brought a lot of people together because they are united under one cause, and that is the cause to bring back democracy, to have a democratic government, an electable government, and not one controlled and ruled by a dictatorship. So it is entirely possible. It is entirely possible that the Myanmar military government chief could end up trying to flee into exile should they overthrow the Judah military, the rebels. So it's entirely possible. I would not be surprised if he fled to China. I think that's the likely country. But there are a lot of countries that obviously will arrest him for the ICC arrest warrant. So it'll be interesting if it goes on that long enough. That's for sure. So let's have a little read into this, guys. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, has requested an international arrest warrant for the military ruler of Myanmar for the persecution of Roderica. The Office of Prosecutor Cameron Khan on Wednesday said that Ming Yang Halung, chief of the military government that took control of the country in a coup in 2021, is responsible for crimes against humanity regarding the treatment of the Rwandan minority. The prosecutor's office has been investigating alleged crimes committed during the 2016-17 violence in the country state of Rakhine for the past 5 years, it said. At that time, the Myanmar military unleashed a brutal crackdown on Rwanda civilians, sending at least 700,000 fleeing into neighborhood in Bangladesh amid reports of killing, torture, rape, and arson. Yeah, it's taken a long time for the ICC to put this together, but yeah, what happened back then is just absolutely horrifying. Military Chief Ming Yang Hung bears criminal responsibility for the crimes against humanity and deportation and persecution of the Rwandans committed in Myanmar and in part of Bangladesh, the prosecutor's office has said. My office alleges that these crimes were committed between the 25th of August 2017 and the 31st of December 2017 by the armed forces of Myanmar, the Tangmandug, supported by the National Police, the Border Guard Police, as well as non-Rwandan civilians, Khan's statement has said. That's just there where he addresses the issue. I was wondering if I actually... I don't actually play the video, but I'm just wondering if it will play. Let's see if it might be worth listening to, just to hear.
This is my third visit in 3 years to the Kutupalong refugee camp close to Cox's Bazar here in Bangladesh. Surrounded by children, women and men that have been uprooted from their home and have been forced to flee to Bangladesh. And I've been clear since I became prosecutor that their lives matter. Today we have an important announcement. For the first time in the situation of Myanmar and Bangladesh, my office is submitting applications to the judges of the pre-trial chamber. And this first application is for Min Aung Hlaing, the acting president of Myanmar and the head of the defense services of Myanmar. Other warrant applications will follow soon. Now, of course, it is for the judges of the pre-trial chamber to determine whether or not warrants should be issued. But I wanted to say a few words directly to you, the people of Myanmar, the Rohingya community that have been walking shoulder to shoulder with us, that have been sharing your stories, helping us collect and verify evidence, that you're not an afterthought, you're right at the center of everything we do. The team has been on the ground almost continuously. Scores and scores of missions here in Bangladesh and around the world, collecting evidence, building partnerships, whether it's with you, with civil society, working with Bangladesh, or whether it's with the United Nations Independent Investigative Mechanism for Myanmar. We have to present truthful, reliable evidence, investigate incriminating and exonerating evidence equally. And we have done that. As we wait for the judges of the pre-trial chamber to independently scrutinize what we've submitted and make their own decisions, we commit to keep working with you, to count on your support, your persistence, your determination, and your patience. If we do that, God willing, justice can be seen by you and your families in this very important situation. A few minutes ago, I was given a small gift, handmade by Rohingya ladies here in Kutupalong. A simple message, hand sewn, but it speaks volumes. We belong to Myanmar. We want justice. A simple message, an eloquent message, a powerful message, and one that we must work together to achieve.
Very well said from Cameron Khan. He is absolutely brilliant. He does very good work, and I'm quite an admirer of him. That's for sure. Very powerful message there. I'm glad we watched that. The work of the ICC continues to vindicate the resilience of the mainly Muslim minority communities of Rwanda, of more than 1 million of whom were forcibly displaced by military action, and their hopes in the power of the law, the prosecutor added. Zeng Mang-Young, foreign minister for Myanmar's opposition National Unity Government, established by electoral lawmakers barred from taking their seats in 2021, said on X that the ICC judges should swiftly issue the warrants and that the government should act and enforce this warrant to uphold justice and international law. Myanmar's military government, in a statement, rejected the proceedings, noting it was not a party to the ICC and insisted the country's leadership practice a policy of peaceful coexistence. Yeah, because what you guys did was definitely peaceful. The judges at the ICC will now determine whether the applications can warrant an arrest order. The process could take several months. Turmoil has been building in Myanmar ever since the coup. Armed factions have fought the military government and have gradually scored victories, especially in areas near the border with China. That has stirred tensions with Beijing, a major arms supplier to the military government and Myanmar's biggest trade partner. Analysts note that China also maintains ties with the ethnic armed groups which hold territory along the border. Earlier this month, Min Yang embarked on his first visit to China since seizing power, with Beijing reportedly unhappy with his failure to ensure stability and halt criminality. Like I said, if they do succeed, then obviously he will flee to China. Because for China, in their position, it's for them. They just want to be able to have that access to the port, the other side of the access to the Indian Ocean. That's what they want, as far as they're concerned. At the end of the day, I hope there will be justice and accountability. But part of me feels like a part of me feels like it may not come for a while still. Like this is still going to drag on for a good while, unfortunately. It will drag on for a good while. And there will still be many lives lost, and no one's going to really intervene military-wise. This is different to obviously Ukraine, and what's happening in the Middle East. But I do think that we should try to supply as much aid as we possibly can to the people, at least in this situation. But it's obviously, I would say that I just got distracted there because Alistair's just, I lost my train of thought there. Thanks to Alistair there. Thank you for the 10 gifted memberships there. Joe Lefty, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else who's lurking in the chat. It's gifted 10 memberships to Gary Arnold, Stu Viking President, Vince Gilmore, Snoop Doug, Jane Corful, Simon Says 55, Dave McGinnis, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Billy Kershaw, Ben Shaw, Chatty Rat, and Erin Humes there have all been gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Alistair. That's very kind of you. I appreciate your support. Thank you for that. I've completely lost my train of thought, guys. I do apologise. But look, in all seriousness, like, we don't want any more. My premise is that I will always want peace and stability. I don't want innocent people to suffer and die as a result. But I also believe that that this military government needs to be overthrown. What they have done in the past and what they are doing now with the control that they have, it's not right. They don't belong. They don't belong to have the power. It should be down to the people to decide who governs them, not the military. And I hope that they do succeed. And of course, I will try to keep you guys up to date with what's happening in Myanmar as much as I possibly can. But thanks for that, Alistair Keir. So from one crisis to another crisis, we talked about this one for a while, guys. Here. It's not so much a conflict, but I gotta say it's not so much a conflict. It's a bit wrong to say that Haiti isn't really in a conflict. It is pretty much is, guys. So the number of children recruited by gangs in Haiti has soared by 70%, UNICEF says. 70% of children have been recruited by gangs in Haiti. Now, I did a long video. I did quite a piece of talking about this in detail on a video on Rumble, but I'm gonna share some of those thoughts that I shared on there with you guys that I haven't shared. And the way I think about this is that what tends to happen here in Haiti, what tends to happen, right, is they get arrested. If they're in gangs or whatever, normally what happens is if they catch them and they arrest them, right, and then obviously they're let out after their time and whatnot, right? They go back to their village or wherever they came from originally, right? What do you think happens when they go back home? There's no jobs. There's no proper home. There's no way to make money. There's no way to make a life for yourself because Haiti is a nation in crisis. So when you can't make money, when there's no work, there's no schools, there's no proper education, there's not the basic functions of a civil society, where do you go to? You'll go to the gangs. And you know why you'll go to the gangs? Because the gangs will give you food. The gangs will give you shelter. The gangs will give you sleep. The gangs will give you a weapon to defend yourself. The gangs will give you a purpose. Because there is no other purpose that these people have. And that is why they're going into them, because they don't have anything else. There's nothing else for them. It's not like even I would always go as far as say this is worse in most places in Africa. That's how bad it is. So my mind is that even if, yeah, let's say hypothetically, right? The Kenyan police force, right? Because they are the Kenyan police force, which are looking to help the police in Haiti crack down on the gangs, right? Let's just say hypothetically, right? They took back control of the capital, Port-au-Prince, right? Let's say hypothetically they did, right? Let's say they did it. They fought them back and they took back the capital, right? Let's say they did, right? They still got. Do they have the infrastructures in place? Do they have the schools? Do they have the hospitals? Do they have all the basic needs that kids have? to ensure that they don't need to go back into a life of violence. And they can't, and the answer is no. And the only reason why they can't is because we have a very, very screwed up political system in Haiti. This stupid council that they've literally put together literally just sacked, not long ago, sacked the very prime minister that put the bloody council together. It's just absolute political pandemonium. And now, some of the gangs have basically said they want a seat at the political table. And as crazy as this is going to sound, it may have to come that way because the politicians don't have a grip. And we know they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. There doesn't appear to be a clear plan. They are stuck in a cycle. The country is literally stuck in a cycle that they cannot get out of. There's no way out of this. It is a cycle that they cannot get out of. And women in those gangs, they don't, obviously they're forced to cook, clean, and be abused by men. If you ask me, how do you fix this problem, Regan? Okay, how would you fix this problem with Haiti? I would start with one area, and I would start with one area, clear it from gangs, one area of the country. You have to do this piece by piece. Clear it of the gangs, and start fixing the foundations. Yeah? If they don't have a school, get a school set up. If they don't have a proper hospital, get it set up. If they don't have proper homes in that area, get the homes built. So start getting some basics in. Give people something that will drive them away from the gangs, basically. Because you need to give. If gangs are the only purpose that they have, they will go to the gangs. You need to give an alternative. You need to give these children hope and a future, and you're not going to give it by just letting them running back into the gangs and then releasing them, and then they run back into the gangs because they literally got nothing else. It wasn't that long ago where there was a gun violence, where there was a blow off. I think it was even last week we talked about it. I think it was like a 7-year-old kid, but I think it was like a 10-year-old child was in the gunfire. Like, you just imagine yourself, trying to protect or defend your area from some of these gangs, and there's a 10-year-old kid shooting at you. I cannot imagine on my conscience what that would feel like to actually shoot that child because of it's my life or that child's life. And you guys know when it's children, child's minds are like a sponge. They're like a sponge, and they don't understand what's happening around them, as we know. And you have to also say that America, needs to take some responsibility as well, because they have gone in a few. They need to take some ownership responsibility for this as well, because they can fix this country. They can put it on its feet if they really wanted to, because they've done it before. They've gone in with military, taken control of the country. What needs to happen is there needs to be what the people wanted before, and that is a democratic general election where people can decide who to vote for. Now, yes, of course, no one's going to be pleased about the outcome. There's always going to be someone. But I've said it's long past any kind of elections. You can't have any of it because of the destabilization that the country is in. But this story drags on and on and on because nobody is dealing with this. And recently, Russia rejected any kind of UN peacekeeping operation here in Haiti, which I have no idea why Russia has a problem with UN peacekeepers going into Haiti. I don't know how it benefits them. I don't know what their gripe is with Haiti. Maybe I missed something in the history books between Russia and Haiti that I don't know about, or maybe they just did it just to piss off the rest of the world on it. I don't know, but yeah, UN peacekeepers would probably be the next step, because what's happening right now is not working. So gangs in Haiti are recruiting children at unprecedented levels, with a number of minors targeting soaring by 70% in the past year, according to a report released Monday by UNICEF. Currently, between 30% and 50% of all gang members in the violent-racked country are children, according to the UN. This is a very concerning trend, said Guillaume Nouan, a UNICEF representative in Haiti. The increase comes as poverty deepens and violence increases amid political instability, with gangs that control 85% of Port-au-Prince. This is the capital. The capital of Haiti is controlled by 85% of gangs. That's how little control government and authorities have. Attacking once peaceful communities in a push to assume control of the capital. Young boys are often used as informers because they're invisible and not seen as a threat, Ladrin said in a phone interview from Haiti. Some are given weapons and forced to participate in attacks. Girls, meanwhile, are forced to cook, clean, and even use so-called wives for gang members. They are not doing this voluntarily, no one said. Even when they are armed with weapons, the child here is the victim. Of course the child is the victim. The child doesn't... Well, the child does not understand why they're doing what they're doing. The child does not understand this. In a country where more than 60% of the population are on less than $4 a day, and hundreds of thousands of Haitians are starving or near starvation, recruiting children is often easy. Like I said, when they have absolutely nothing, what are they supposed to do? One minor who was in a gang said he was paid $33 every Saturday, while another said he was paid thousands of dollars in his first month in a gang operation, according to a UN security report. And there it is right there. There it is right there. Why, $4 a day compared to what? $33 every Saturday? Or someone allegedly was paid thousands of dollars to be in the gangs in Haiti. It's not rocket science. They don't really have an economy there, but it's just insane. Children and families are becoming increasingly desperate in some cases because of the extreme poverty, Nalwin has said. If children refuse to join a gang, the government often threaten them and their families or simply abduct them. Children are taken against their will, taken away from their mothers, taken away from their families. Gangs also prey on children who are separated from their families after they are deported from the Dominican Republic, which share a border with Haiti on the island of Hispaniola. Those children are increasingly the targeted ones, Nalwin said. Yeah, because they're vulnerable. They don't have anything. Gangs aren't the only threat, as a vigilante movement that began last year to target suspected gang members gains momentum. UNICEF said children are often viewed with suspicion and risk being branded as spies or even killed by vigilante movements. Even when they defeat or refuse to join the violence, their lives and safety are immediately at risk. A video posted on social media last week after gangs attacked an area around an upscale community showing the body of a child lying next to an adult who also was slain. Police said at least 28 suspect gang members were killed that day as residents armed with guns and machetes fought side by side with officers. Yeah, we've covered that story before. The gangs that recruit most children are five single, Brooklyn, Casabrand, Caravine, and Terry Nor, according to the UN Security Council report. Usually, new recruits are ordered to buy food or are given money to buy friends as gangs observe them. So they bribe the kids to bribe other kids rather than them approach them. Then they participate in confrontations and are promoted if they kill someone, for example. After 2-3 years in the gang, the recruit becomes part of the entourage if they prove they weren't a spy, according to the report. This is brutal. Recruitment is surging as many schools remain closed and children become increasingly vulnerable. Yeah, exactly. No schools, no education. With gang violence leaving more than 700,000 people homeless in recent years, including an estimated 365,000 minors. Many of them live in makeshift shelters where they prey upon by gangs and face physical or sexual violence. Criminal groups in Haiti are subjugating girls and women to horrific sexual abuse, stated in a report published on Monday by Human Rights Watch. The report quoted a 14-year-old girl from the capital who said she was abducted and raped multiple times by different men in 5 days in a house with 6 other girls who were raped and beaten. Human Rights Watch noted that while fighting between armed groups had decreased this year, the attacks on Haitian police and critical infrastructure has increased. Criminal groups have often used sexual violence to install fear in rival territories, it said. Gangs are targeting children as young as 8 years old, and the longer they spend with an armed group, the harder it is to rescue them and reintegrate them into society, according to experts. Yeah, the mentality in the everlasting damage is just horrifying. Violence is rewarded and encouraged, with Narum said it's extremely harmful to a child's psychological development. Yeah, absolutely. Children quit gangs in several ways. Some will leave willingly, others escape, and sometimes non-profits will find them and take them to centres where they receive medical care, if needed, as well as psychological help and other aid. There is a transition period, no one said. It's not all rosy, but it does take time on all sides. Yeah. That is a good sign that some are getting the help in terms of a psychological development. But that is what's happening in Haiti. I know that's brutal to talk about, guys. But that is what's happening in Haiti. Remember, the media do not talk enough about this. Because of that, I understand how brutal it is to know about this. Yeah. It's, look, this is what I will say, guys. Look, it will not be like that forever. Okay? Sooner or later, something is going to give. Something has to give. Because they can't be... The world cannot just simply ignore it forever. Eventually, something is going to give. We don't know when. We don't know how. But it will come. And the people of Haiti need to hold on to that. And we need to hold on to that. And we need to pray for them and for all those who continue to suffer. And keep strong. And it's really important that we call out what these gangs are doing. We call out those that are doing this injustice. The corruption that the politicians have been doing. The gangs and the violence that they are occurring. It is diabolical. It's despicable. And it's shameful. And we have to call out for what it is. Let's hope that that at some point we can get UN peacekeepers in that can help stabilize the violence or nullify it at least at some point. Let us hope that does come down the road, guys. So one that is everyone knows more well enough about is from CNN, you guys. So Ukraine. So Ukraine is relying on the drones to hold back Russian advances. Troops on the front line are fearing the worst. So as you guys know, as we've covered numerous times, and we covered it a few days ago on the Deep State map, obviously Ukraine are really struggling. They even have their own factories literally in Ukraine of producing drones now at this point in a desperate attempt to try and push the onslaught, to hold the onslaught back from Russia. But it's becoming more and more difficult, and this is what it's coming to. Soldiers trying to use drones to the best of their advantage to hold back Russian advances, but it's becoming more and more difficult for them. So the Russian assault caught in grainy feeds for multiple drones is relentless and daily. Aging armed vehicles and race across a pocket-marked field, and then in broad daylight, one tank is stopped by Ukrainian attack drones. Yet two vehicles make it to the tree line and drop off Russian troops to shelter in the scant with winter foliage. A minute later, more drones strike in the loom dismounts. Another tank, particularly in its first run, continues through the tree line ahead. It breaks into the next field open, with some troops apparently clinging still to its battered exterior. The sight and its bloodshed are purposely intimate into the live detail, even though the horror we are watching is about 10 miles away. Once the tank is halfway across the next field, a swarm of single-use drones, it strikes it again, and it slows its smoking halt. However much of the assault they kill, the Ukrainians complain. The few Russians who advance are immediately reinforced by another 10. Ukraine cannot match Moscow's numbers or tolerate for casualties that Western officials claim is resulting up to 1,200 dead or injured daily across the front lines. Kiev's manpower crisis has been palpable in Pokrovsk for weeks. Soldiers around the eastern front told CNN, and Moscow's savaging tactics are seeing persistent success. The situation is very critical, says East. The call signs of a commander of a drone unit working around Postecoglou We lack infantry to fight and hold out for some time while the drones do their work. That's why we often see situations where the enemy uncontrollably penetrates vulnerable areas. 100 Pagan, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. This is East, the commander of the Ukrainian drone working unit. Troops in Poloviks told CNN of manpower shortages are so acute that they fear Russia could make a significant breakthrough and complain of having to use drones to strike advancing Russian units because they lack infantry to confront them. One commander said Selido, a key town outside Postecoglou taken by Russia in October, was defending only 6 Ukrainian positions when his assessed meant about 60 troops were involved in the operation. They were quickly encircled, outnumbered, and retreated with significant casualties. It is rare to hear Ukrainian troops disperse commanders or starkly assess the front line to reporters, but multiple soldiers around Postecoglou present a stark assessment of the current Russian offensive and their own prospects in the area over the coming months. The upcoming presidency of Donald Trump causes some anxiety. Troops were keen to not offend the incoming US commander-in-chief and also concerned about the fate of their fight. I will hold back and I will talk straight, said one soldier. Another feared a January peace initiative after Trump's inauguration might be too late. I cannot say exactly how much time we have, if there is any time at all, said Kaskli, a call sign, a reconnaissance sniper. Now they're pushing their troops to the front line as much as possible. Then at one point they will all go for an assault. They can go very far in one day, let's say. The enemy is advancing because there are no people defending on the ground, he continued. Nobody wants to sit there. There's a very high chance that they will not come back. So from their point of view is that they're using drones just to kind of stall the advancements rather than actually having troops on the ground in some areas. But we know that Russia literally just throws Ukrainian Russians. We know that the Russians just literally throw their own soldiers into that. They just chuck them into the meat grinder and they just die. The drone crew skipped through their video library for the past few weeks. Costly and chaotic withdrawals. There is a movement when 3 Ukrainian troops walk into a factory in Sevastopol a month earlier. Advisor is under Ukrainian control, only for one of them to have been shot down by Russians occupying the building. Another scene involves a Ukrainian drone defending another village, mostly without infantry support, encircled by Russian troops. The footage shows a Russian soldier hiding nearby and then the unit firing a drone. Usually sent kilometers towards the front, just 30 meters, 98 feet away to hit the approaching Russians. Recruitment brings its own issue. The defense of Selidrong, one commander said, was bolstered by 300 fresh recruits sent to the front line directly and expecting to undergo basic training in the trenches. Errors by command are increasing, several soldiers said, sharing an episode in which a unit of Ukrainian soldiers was attacked by drones on the front line, after 2 Ukrainian commanders mistakenly failed to identify them. Mistakes are commonplace in the chaos and horror of a battlefield, yet this openness and candor is rare from troops who a year earlier would have spoken with a fierce pride about Ukraine's summer counteroffensive in Russia's Kursk region. I have no people. I'm effing alone. I'm effing tired, said Korea, a call sign another reconnaissance sniper. I love my job, but we need other young people to love this job too. Our country is awake, but the people in it are not. Guys are dying here. This is trash. The prospect of peace talks begins when Trump takes power in July, providing little consideration. Freezing this war is a double-edged sword, Coulter said. Do we give up the lands my friends died for, or do we continue to take it back and lose even more friends? If these 2 old men, Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, start measuring dicks, Ukraine will be in the middle of it all, and that won't be pleasant. East drone commander said he was assigned to the area in August. During this time, we have never gone to the training grounds or replenished our personnel, he said. The Russians are consistently staffed, consistently trained, and there are certain rotations, replenishment of personnel. We consistently hear about it from intercepts. They have replacements and rotations. The intensity of the Russian assaults against Postecoglou is felt in multiple directions. One Russian heads to its south, around the smaller town of Postecoglou, where the remaining Ukrainian troops risk being cut off by the Russians' pincer movement to the south and the north. We talked about this before, about how they try to encircle troops to push them back. Other Russian assault units are pushing fast towards Postecoglou itself, with infantry units sometimes only a few Russian strong, probing into villages looking for holes in Ukraine's increasingly porous defense. One commander told CNN that troops around Postecoglou have been ordered to shoot unidentified persons on sight in fear of Russian reconnaissance or groups advancing. The brutality of the Russian assault also batters morale. A drone video circulating shows a small house on the edges of Presviskia, a village close to Postecoglou, on the 13th of November. The footage shows the local in an orange shirt guiding advancing Russian troops to the basement where Ukrainian soldiers were hiding. One by one, that the Ukrainians were led out into the daylight and forced at gunpoint to lie face down. The video shows one soldier apparently fire at the prone Ukrainians, the leg one twitching after the gunfire. The Ukrainian prosecutor general said on Tuesday had launched an investigation into the incidents as war crimes combined with premeditated murder, adding, in violation of international humanitarian law, the occupiers shot the Ukrainian prisoners with automatic weapons. The killing of the prisoners is a gross violation of the Geneva Convention and is classified as a grave international crime. I want to stress this here. I do not intentionally, unlike whenever I get footage from Gaza, do not go out of my way to seek footage in the war in Ukraine. I have seen footage of things like that allegedly by Russian soldiers on Ukrainians, allegedly, and it's not a nice thing to have in the back of my mind, is what I will say. I don't know what's going to happen. There was a report. It'll come out on a short video in the next couple of days for you guys. But there was a report where basically the aid package that the Biden administration had approved, may not get in there. Well, the problem is it may not get there in time for Ukraine. And what I mean is that the way it's distributed, the way it's sent over, it all costs money and time. And the problem is that, well, there's a clock ticking because they've only got till the 20th of January. So the original aid package that they approved of to send to Ukraine, they're not going to be able to do it. So they're going to have, so basically they're sending, they're trying, basically one of the things that they are sending is, they're sending a lot of artillery shells and a lot of smaller things instead of large transfers, so they can at least get as much things as they can to Ukraine before the Trump administration comes in and possibly undoes everything. So it's it's very worrying indeed, because obviously we thought that aid package would just help some respite, but it's taking longer to get through because obviously, there's a rush there. Biden is pretty much on his feet because he has so much stuff to try and get done between now and when Donald Trump comes in. But this is also the rallying call of where Europe needs to step up even more than ever before for Ukraine. I mean, we hear it a lot. We hear small bits and bobs where they're helping out, but I do wonder if it's enough, guys. And sometimes I think it's not enough from Europe, because at the end of the day, we can't afford for them to win this, Russia. We really can't, because it will come back on us. It will do. Just going to have a quick look at the chat before we go to the last piece there. Dylan Burns has documented how Russian soldiers are treating Kherson and Zaporizhzhia as shooting safari. Disgusting. The world has gone to hell in a handcart. It's the part of the world that people don't like talking about, Aaron. That's the problem. People don't like talking about it. I should point out that if this live stream in particular, when we cover this stuff, it is very difficult. It is not it is something that is not something for the faint of heart. Is sometimes. I do apologise, Stephen Banker, for not because I know there's certain things where I disclose that I don't always is not obviously for you, and I know some other people don't find it distasteful or uncomfortable, and I know it's difficult, but and I do apologise for not giving you advance notice. I that is one thing I need to do more of, and I apologise, but it is important to highlight these things that are happening, guys. Jao says, I can honestly say that if my life was different, I did I did not have so many people depend on me. I would be a volunteer right now, not a bravado, but we need to do something. Yeah. Careful, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Sorry, my stomach is playing up a little bit. All Father's blessings, 100 Pagan. The last video, you 100 Pagan, my friend. I'm sorry, I haven't seen your last video, Pagan. Oh, by the way, I'm going to drop you a message after the live stream as well. If NATO properly helped out Russians, wouldn't half a hope. A lack of spine has really cost Ukraine. Indeed, yeah. Okay, so the last one, guys. Don't worry. This one is not going to be too. This one is not going to be heartbreaking. Too heartbreaking. We should look at this in a positive light, even though we in a positive light as much as we possibly can. And there is a funny video before we leave as well, guys. So don't worry. So this one is from Middle Eastern Eye. So the headline is, why is Hezbollah celebrating? Israelis unconvinced by the ceasefire agreements, and Netanyahu's political allies and opponents have denounced the deal, and residents to the northern towns say they are still too fearful to return. Now, I did a Rumble video on this topic anyway, but I wanted to add this to you for you guys, because obviously we haven't really talked too much about it since it's been put through. Now, there's already been reports of that both sides are already kind of breaking some of the rules in the ceasefire. It's not all out war like it was before, but there are one or two little minor things still happening that both are doing, are both violations of the agreement. But it is as of right now, it is still holding, even though there are still tinglings and tickerings from both sides, I'm afraid. Now, the residents of the northern towns are rightfully not to return straight away, understandably so, because they don't trust Hezbollah. Hezbollah, my fear is that they are celebrating because my fear is that they will go back into the southern part of Lebanon and start building up again. That is my fear of what they might do. And I think it's really important that the message is laid very, very clear by Israel, saying that if you go in there, we will come after you again. We will break this agreement. And I think that's the right way. I think they should make that threat. Now, of course, we all know that there's long history here, but we also know that Hezbollah are part of the axis of resistance with Hamas, with one or two groups in Syria, as well as part of the Houthi rebels in Yemen, under the banner of the Iran Revolutionary Guard, who basically can run all of these guys. So the question is, are Hezbollah going to stick to this? Now, one or two analysts said that it might be a couple of years. Some people say it won't last. It'll be even shorter than that. My main concern, my main priority is not just obviously the innocent lives of Israelis who have suffered as a result of this. It is, of course, those in Lebanon. Many, many, many innocents have died as a direct result of this happening. And of course, we know that what's happening, and I know we want to talk about the horrific things that are happening in Gaza. And yeah, I do. A part of me hopes that more people will speak out even more about Gaza and highlight Gaza as well. I'm not sure if it will or not, but a part of me also thinks that Netanyahu is doing this for political reasons as well. That he's agreed to this ceasefire. Yeah, that's right, Wayne and they are still taking shots at each other, but it's not full blown. It's not full blown. So at least it's something. It's not full blown. So I'm trying to put optimism in this. That is for sure. No worries, Aaron Humes. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. So let's read into this last piece, guys. So despite ending more than a year of fighting along the Lebanese border, there is no sense of victory in Israel following Wednesday's ceasefire with Hezbollah. Displaced Israelis say they do not feel safe to return to their homes. Political opponents and allies of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have denounced the deal as weak, and many have been left wondering what happened to the total victory promised by the Prime Minister. Speaking on national television on Tuesday evening, Netanyahu tried to sell the agreement to the Israeli public, but most were left unconvinced, questioning whether it amounted to a temporary pause in fighting or a more permanent deal to end the hostilities, and wondering how long it would take for Hezbollah to regroup and rearm. Israeli political analyst Miriam Rapport had told Middle East Tonight that confusion and disappointment in Israel over the Hezbollah deal in part reflect the government's failure to deliver the decisive outcome he had promised in a conflict which has enjoyed widespread popular support. The defense minister Israel Katz just 10 days ago said the goal is to disarm Hezbollah and that there will be a buffer zone. This is what they told us, and clearly that is not happening. There is a very big gap, he has said. But he said the deal also reflects the differences between the government and the country's traditional security establishment over how the wars in Gaza and Lebanon are being fought. While the latter favoured the fight against Hezbollah, Netanyahu and his allies remain committed to the war in Gaza and the goal of ethnic cleansing in the north of the enclave, Rappaport had suggested. Lebanon war was a war of the centre-left and an army in particular, but not for the right. This was a war of the old elites, he said. The new elites are interested in Gaza. It was easy for Netanyahu to give up Lebanon and concentrate on Gaza, Rappaport had added. But Amir Magtol, an Israeli human rights activist, had told Middle East Tonight that it remained questionable whether Netanyahu is committed to a lasting ceasefire of Hezbollah. He suggested that the deal may amount to a short-term truce, with Netanyahu biding his time in expectation of a more supportive US administration under Donald Trump when he takes over in January, allowing some respite for Israeli forces exhausted by waging war on multiple fronts. It seems as though he's talking about a 60-day truce rather than the end of war, viewing it as a waiting period for Trump, he says. This might be the first radical decision acknowledging the limits of power and acknowledgement that the army is exhausted, overburdened, and placing a heavy strain on soldiers, especially on the reserve forces. Members of Netanyahu's far-right coalition were quick to distance themselves from the deal. This agreement does not meet the goals of the war to return the residents to their North's safety homes, said Imran Ben-Gvir, the security minister and leader of the Jewish Power Party. An agreement with the Lebanese army is an agreement on ice. The Lebanese army does not have the authority at all and certainly not the ability to overcome Hezbollah. We have already seen that we must not rely on anyone but ourselves, and in the end we will have to return to Lebanon again. This is a historic mistake. Sharp criticism also came from Yoav Gallegher, the former defense minister who was sacked by Netanyahu earlier this month. Both men this week were subjects of arrest warrants for crimes charges issued by the International Criminal Court. Gallant said, in the Middle East, words, declarations and written agreements have no meaning. The future of the North and the security of the residents will be determined by one thing, the determination of the Israeli government to direct the security apparatus to vigorously attack any attempts by Hezbollah to violate it immediately. The opposition leader Yair Lapid said the government's priority should be negotiating a deal for the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza since October 2023. The greatest disaster in our history happened during Netanyahu's tenure. No agreement with Hezbollah will erase the lawlessness. We need to urgently make a deal. Bring home the civilians who were abandoned, he said. Benny Galvez, another opposition figure who quit Netanyahu's war cabinet in June, but has backed the wars in Gaza and Lebanon, said, You must not do half-hearted work. Meanwhile, residents of villages and towns of northern Israel said they have remained fearful about returning to their homes, with many saying they prefer to stay where they are for now. Ifik El-Michik, a mother of three from Kalak, Somalia, if I mispronounced names, I apologise, where a bus station was hit by Hezbollah rockets overnight on Wednesday, told the Yegat News website, "We don't want to go back to a life of consistent fear. This agreement feels weak and it's not in our favour. For now, we're leaning towards staying put. Our house was damaged by shrapnel, but we don't feel fully safe in the city." Hofi Moore, a mother of four from Moscow, Kalev Yovel, said, "I'm against the agreement. It feels like it's bringing us back to square one, to where we were before the war. After seeing the disaster in the Gaza border region, we realised the danger we were living in. Under these conditions, I am not going back." Up to 70,000 residents have been evacuated from northern Israel since October 2023. After Hezbollah stepped up rocket attacks in response to Israel's assault against Hamas in Gaza. The mayor of one northern town, Kairik, Somalia, vividly captured their frustration with the deal in comments on Facebook ahead of the ceasefire deal's announcement. Posting a video of people in Lebanon celebrating the immediate deal, Avi Shabin wrote, "You promised us a complete victory. So how is it that Hezbollah is celebrating?" So one of the things that did not cross my mind too much, and it was a great point that was pointed out in that article, is Trump. So something. So that actually makes a very valid point there. That Trump could be the very thing, which is why he's doing this, just to wait until Trump comes in and then seeing what the Trump administration says and does. That could very well be the reason why he's agreed to it. And it doesn't matter that it makes Biden look like he's got a small victory, because he's on his way out anyway. So it doesn't really matter from that point of view. It does give me a lot of food for thought. I really hope that that's not the case, and I actually just hope it continues. This hold extends. I know it's not the best of holds, but I hope it does. I just hope, it just keeps things quiet, because too many people have suffered as a result. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. One Angry Pagan says the drums of war are beating too often, too loudly now for us to ignore, as they are just a part of the reason as to why the cost of living is so high, along with the greed of the rich and the ching chang, etc. Says One Angry Pagan. Getting tired, brain, not as quickly as this morning, Joe. Well, yeah, you sometimes feel a lot more tired than others. I'm a bit tired, to be fair, as well, my friend. Yeah, that's for sure. But we'll let's see how the end of next week goes, and hopefully it will have lasted a week. Cross fingers. Let's hope that's the way. Let's hope that's the way anyway, guys. So, yeah. We'll hope that's going to be the case. Right, before you all run off, I've got one funny video for you guys. You didn't think I was going to let you guys go without a bit of fun, did you? I just realised I need to adjust the video just a tiny little bit. There we go. So I've got a funny video for you guys. So some of you may get this, some of you may not. Some of you may have heard the cooking series called Masterchef in the UK. To be fair, you don't even need to know too much about the show to see the funny side of this. So I'm just gonna play it and see how you guys react to it. I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys enjoy this funny video. I found it hilarious, but I hope you guys find it funny as well. So the title of the video is called Celebrity Masterchef with Ange Postecoglou. So here we go.
Okay, so Ange, the challenge was to give us your version of the tastiest chicken pie. What have you got for us? What's this?
A sponge cake, mate.
We asked you to make a chicken pie.
It is what it is, mate.
The challenge was to make a chicken pie. Why have you made a sponge cake?
Well, these are my methods, mate. My sponge cakes are amazing, and I made a sponge cake.
But the challenge was to make a chicken pie. Why didn't you adapt to the challenge?
It is what it is, mate.
All right, this is the third challenge today, and every time you've made a sponge cake. You're not going to win this competition if you keep making sponge cakes.
Well, I'm a proven sponge cake maker, mate, and if you want evidence of my ability, just taste my sponge cake.
Well, I'll taste it, but you're not going to win.
It is what it is, mate.
Oh, this is disgusting. What did you put in this?
Chicken, mate.
Chicken in a sponge cake. Oh, you didn't get that. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming when I first watched it. That's Michael Spicer's YouTube channel. Do check it out, guys. Oh dear, oh dear. I've never heard of a chicken sponge cake, guys. Who's heard of that? Sponge cake bought by the Portuguese has the chicken pie. That one is also Spanish. I see. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not familiar with chicken. I don't like. Listen, I have actually. I'll tell you guys. I actually have a very sweet tooth, so I'm a very. So whenever it comes to sweets and that, I go, you know, when it cakes and whatnot. But I try to mediate the when cakes and that. I'm very, very restrictive on it, you know, because I feel like it's too much for me. Actually, I'll say something. Actually, when you know, my favorite cake is actually Battenberg's. And when I was younger, my mum used to go to a local bakery, and they would they made this they made their own custom made Battenberg, but they put so much sugar in it. I went absolutely hyper whenever I had it. Very, very bad. Way too much sugar in it. Just wanted to share that with you guys anyway. We could talk more about cakes tomorrow on the Friday Lights as well if we want to. I love empathies. They are similar to expandaries, and the chicken ones are also lovely with an espresso, says Jow. I don't ask me to. I'm not saying that word, Steve. I'm not. You know my words. I'm not very good. Battenbergs are the lush as one fake, and they are indeed. But the one I'm talking about is like made straight from sorry, not bakery, from was basically made locally. So it's not like one you pick up from the it's not one that you pick up from the shops, you know. Like that's how it is. So chicken sponge cake, yeah, I'm not sure of that combination. Not sure of that combination at all. And we kind of needed that after some of the stories we covered today, guys. So, guys, let me know what you thought of some of the stories that we covered today, covering the Sudan war, the ICC going after Myanmar's Judah military, and obviously they're going to be planning to issue more warrants to other people within the Judah military there. What's happening in Haiti, the horrifying stories there. Ukraine and the situation there, and obviously the ceasefire that it appears to be holding to some extent as well between Hezbollah and Lebanon and Israel. Let me know your thoughts on all these stories and more down in the comments section below. I'm very glad I stuck to five stories considering how long we've gone, because I actually thought this was going to be less than an hour. It turns out to be longer. Just so you guys know, I've already pre-recorded Regan's news round. I just need to basically set it pretty much for you guys. So Regan's news round will have been recorded today, but it'll obviously premiere on Saturday evening for you guys. And tomorrow I will record World's News Round that will basically come on Sunday for you guys. So on Sunday for you guys as well. So as for the Snowflake Dum Dum videos, I won't have any. I'm going to try and see if I can get some more content, because that was the last of the backlogs that I had on it. So I do need to try and chase up and see if I can find some more for you guys, because I did like doing those. So hopefully I can find some more of those funny videos as well. I also just want to point out before we go, my short videos have been doing crap. You know, all those short videos that I've got, guys, they're getting like 2, 3, 5 views, right? And yet they're still getting 600 to 800 views on TikTok. So if you're wondering why I'm not stopping the shorts, it's because I'm still getting views on TikTok, and that channel and that page is growing as well. If you're on TikTok and you're not following me on there, do follow me. Link is in the links tree, by the way, if you're interested. Just before we go, Caffel with the €5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. We're small beans to you, but your nearest neighbour, and I'm all excited for the general election day tomorrow, with all Ireland's parties set to do well. I wish all Irish citizens the very best in tomorrow's general election. I really do hope that whatever the outcome is, and it won't be definitive. Obviously, it might take a day. My understanding is obviously of the electoral process, it will take a few days before the final decision comes in. But yes, I will be watching it very closely indeed, as someone who is half Irish. So I obviously have a very keen interest in the outcome of this as well. So thank you for the €5 super chat. Yeah, and I hope the result is whatever the result is what's best for the people of Ireland at the end of the day. That's the best way I can put it there. Who are you voting for? Who? He's gone and bloody done it again. He's not only has he knocked the orb, he's turned it off, and he's turned away out of rudeness. How bloody rude of him. How dare you, Ollie? So mean. He's so mean. Okay, now he's really, really happy now. Switches like that so much, doesn't he? Pingu says he's voting for Sinn Féin tomorrow. I told him that he can't vote for Sinn Féin because he's not Irish. So yeah, I don't know why he wants. I don't know. Cash Dummy, who are you voting for? He says the island independence is who he's voting for there. And And Ollie said he's voting with your party, Cathal. That's what he said. So there you go, guys. There you go. So, guys, I will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. for Friday Lights. There will be a Friday Lights tomorrow, guys. So do check that out. Come join me there. I'm going to give, I'll just give you briefly, just before you run off. I will be, because someone have requested me to show how the Discord works. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the Discord community before we get into the fun stuff as well on there, guys. So just so you guys are aware on there. So thank you to those on the Twitch chat for your comments and for dropping in on there. Greatly appreciate. Thank you to all those on YouTube for your comments as well. Thank you guys for the super chats, and Alistair Keir for the gifted, for Cathal for your super chat, and Alistair Keir for the gifted memberships. We really appreciate your support. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, whatever you guys are doing. Hopefully I will catch you tomorrow, but if not, I also want to say one last thing. For those in America, those who celebrate it, I hope you have a lovely Thanksgiving with all your friends and family, for those who celebrate it. I really, really mean that. So before I go, I just have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Help me get to that 2,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.